So welcome everybody to this pre-trip informational webinar. Some of you have not participated in the previous webinars that we've had. So what we're going to do is start with an overview of the American Center for Mongolian Studies, when we were founded, what our goals are, and I'm going to talk very briefly about some of the programs that we run here in Mongolia. And then we'll run through a brief logistical, a couple of notes about logistics of getting here and what to expect as far as accommodations while you're here. And then we'll give a very brief itinerary of what to expect on the field courses. I'm accurately sharing my screen. Okay, so welcome to ACMS Mongolia Field School 2024, brought to you by the American Center for Mongolian Studies. Some notes about the American Center for Mongolian Studies. This organization was founded in 2002, and we opened our Ulaanbaatar office and research library in 2004. So this year we're actually having a 20th anniversary celebration event to celebrate 20 years of having a physical office here in Mongolia. We have a full-time staff here, myself and an office manager, a program manager, and a librarian. And the local staff will be arranging and supporting our visit to Mongolia. Charles Kruzikov is our executive director and the president of the board of directors. He is a professor of economics at Royal Roads University in British Columbia. And the American Center for Mongolian Studies is a consortium of international universities and members that supports all scholars, not just Americans, who want to engage in research in Inner Asia and especially Mongolia. Functionally, the ACMS is the academic embassy in Ulaanbaatar, with international and Mongolian staff who help visiting and local scholars do research, work, and build resources, connections, and networks. This is essentially your home away from home in Mongolia. And we have a few main projects that we engage in throughout the years: a research fellowship and our summer field school, a Mongolian language program, a publication of a newsletter this month in Mongolian studies, and regular hosting of speakers at our speaker series events and regular hosting of academic conferences. Just a brief note about our field research fellowships. This deadline has passed for this year, but it will be open for next year, starting in, I believe, October. This program provides awards of up to $4,000 to postdocs or faculty or senior graduate students to conduct short-term student, postdoctoral, or faculty field research in Mongolia between May and October. And for this program, it's funded by the United States government, and so applicants must be U.S. citizens currently enrolled in full-time academic programs. The priority is to support individuals from non-research intensive universities and colleges, especially those who are helping guide student research projects or who can show how the fellowship will enhance their teaching and research. Applications can be submitted by individuals or jointly with a faculty advisor, and joint applications typically have a higher chance of success. We also have a Mongolian language program. Our language instructor, Dr. Tsirma, not the Dr. Tsirma that's in this Zoom meeting, she's been teaching with us for, I believe, over 15 years, and she teaches over Zoom to Americans and other people around the world, and she also holds in-person classes here in our office in Mongolia. And we also have an intensive summer language program that runs approximately 2 months every year, where people with beginner or intermediate level Mongolian language skills can come do a pretty immersive Mongolian language learning experience. We also provide library research fellowships to librarians to come to Mongolia and engage in projects aiming at increasing accessibility of library materials, both in our library here in Ulaanbaatar as well as in Mongolian libraries. This includes developing new barcoding systems, working on cataloging, difficult to catalog library items, etc. This year, we're also running a faculty's development seminar. This is a fully funded seminar of, I believe it's about 15 days. It'll be held here in Ulaanbaatar in the countryside, and this is a program open to faculty administrators from community colleges and minority serving institutions. It's fully funded by the State Department Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, including the international travel to get here. This year, that course that we're offering is Climate Change and Public Health. What does climate change mean for the people of Mongolia? And this is going to be a really cool program, engaging American academics with the challenges of climate change in Mongolia and the challenges that public health officials are facing, dealing with how climate change is changing Mongolia. So for our field school this year, this field school program started in 2019 and then was held online in 2021. The program was canceled in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic, but it was held online in 2021, and we had hundreds of participants for that field school, and then on-site in Mongolia again in 2022 and 2023. For this year, we're offering 2 courses in 2 sessions in late July and early August. Participants can take 1 course or take both courses if they want, or either. Now, all the courses will start and end in Ulaanbaatar and will include a significant component in the Mongolian countryside. The first session, Horses in History, this will run from July 20th to 28th, and the second session, Hostai National Park, will run from July 29th to August 11th. Each of these courses will have approximately 20 international and Mongolian participants. The language of all instruction in these courses is English. Previous experience in Mongolia or with field studies is not required, and participants are responsible for making their own travel arrangements to and from Ulaanbaatar. ACMS can help with accommodations in Ulaanbaatar before and after the program. If you want to come a few days early or stay a few days after, we can help with accommodations, but we can't cover the cost of that. Most participants will be arriving via air, although rail travel from China is an option. Rail travel from Russia is not anymore an option. It used to be. During the program, ACMS will make transportation, accommodation, and meal arrangements for the group, which will travel together as a class. You probably all know this, but tuition for session 1 is $1,750, and tuition for session 2 is $3,500, minus whatever fellowships we have awarded you. The tuition will cover program costs in Mongolia, including meals, housing, transportation, instruction, and site visits. Mongolian participants, because they don't require hotel lodging, and because this is a program aimed at increasing cultural exchange between the United States and the West and Mongolia, Mongolians have a separate tuition schedule, and please check with our office for details on that. Oops. Yeah. We've all already applied, so we don't need to apply again. We don't at this time offer academic credits for our courses, but the courses are designed to be equivalent of a 3 to 6 credit university course. If you need to receive or want to receive academic credits for participation, the best, easiest way to do that is to talk to your home institution and see if you can arrange some sort of supervised independent study to get college credit for participating in our class. Some notes about safety and health in Mongolia, including COVID. There's a very high COVID-19 vaccination rate here, and most people are boosted. There are no current travel restrictions in Mongolia related to COVID-19, and we do not anticipate any disruption to the summer 2024 travel schedule. Your deposits are refundable if the program is canceled or with some restrictions if you cannot attend. All travelers should study the travel restrictions in place at the time of travel for all countries visited. Visit your own government's travel advisory webpage to find those kind of restrictions. Mongolia has flights from multiple international locations. Most travelers arrive through Seoul, Istanbul, or Beijing, or sometimes from Frankfurt, Germany. It might be cheaper to book your flight legs separately, such as book a ticket from the United States to Seoul, and then from Seoul to Ulaanbaatar, or Istanbul or Frankfurt or Tokyo. For the horses in the human story course, plan to arrive no later than July 19th. The first day of that course is July 20th, so arrive the day before at the latest. On your first night, the night of July 19th, your hotel accommodation will be covered by ACMS. We will arrange all the reservations and everything for that, and depart no earlier than July 29th. The last day of that course is July 28th. And so your hotel accommodations will be paid for by ACMS for July 28th. For the Hostai course, plan to arrive no later than July 28th. The course starts on July 29th, so be here a day before, and we'll cover your hotel, and depart no earlier than August 12th. That course ends on August 11th, so we'll cover your hotel for August 11th. We have developed a safety, health, and risk management plan for the program. We can discuss special concerns or situations with participants. Please inform your instructors in advance of the course if you have dietary restrictions. We will support and find access to appropriate medical care in Mongolia, but the costs of care are the responsibility of the participants. All international participants are required to have a travel insurance plan to participate. GeoBlue travel is a good option. There are many other options. I just looked up a plan for myself for GeoBlue travel, and it was something like $50 for something like 100 days of coverage. So it's not particularly expensive. Field travel in Mongolia. We're going to be doing a lot of driving around the countryside for both of these courses. Travel will be largely in large minivan vehicles for the horses and history course, and minivan type vehicles and pickup trucks for the Hostai course. While the roads are generally pretty good in Mongolia, there can be things like potholes, and generally vehicle travel is restricted to 80 kilometers an hour on the highway. So it's not super fast that we move around, but we will be driving around quite a bit in those minivans. Just a note about the course. This is a unique opportunity to, sorry, my screen is hiding from me. Whoops. This is a unique opportunity for expert-led academic studies together with a special cultural insights and experiences. All the instructors for the courses have PhDs in their relevant fields. Dr. Taylor, who's the lead instructor for the horses and the human story course, is a professor of archaeology at University of Colorado. I'm the co-instructor for that course. I'm a PhD from University of Utah, also in archaeology. As I mentioned, Dr. Tserma is a PhD in rangeland management, and Dr. Usuk Chardal, who we'll hear from in a minute, is also a PhD. So we have a really expert-led group of courses here with some really cool cultural insights and experiences that we're going to see. So at this point, I just want to pause for a second to see if anybody has any questions with what we've gone over so far before we talk about itineraries. I think you can just unmute yourself and ask if you have a question. You don't need to raise your hand or anything. Okay. Nobody's chiming in, so I'm just gonna move right into the itinerary, a brief itinerary for horses and the human story, how Mongolian horses changed the world. I should mention here, so as I mentioned, the lead instructor is Dr. William Taylor of the University of Colorado at Boulder, and myself, I'm the resident director here at ACMS. And then we have a third co-instructor that will be with us for a few days, Dr. Bayar-Saksan Jamzranjov. He is a postdoc at the Max Planck Institute for Geoanthropology, and he just moved back to Ulaanbaatar as well to serve as a director of research, I believe, at the Institute for Archaeology here, the National Institute for Archaeology. So he is a very well qualified expert in Mongolian archaeology, especially deer stones and hierixurs that I'll talk about in a second. The first day of the course, we're going to be in Ulaanbaatar, doing some museum visits and perhaps some cultural events, and kind of just giving people a day to recover from their travels and have a low intensity first day. The second day of the course, we're going to leave from Ulaanbaatar and drive to Kharkhorin, which is pictured here. Kharkhorin is the home of the Irden-Zo Monastery, which is the oldest Buddhist monastery in Mongolia. And we're going to visit this monastery and visit some other archaeological sites in the vicinity of Kharkhorin. And we'll be staying in what's called a tourist ger camp near the banks of the Orhan River in Kharkhorin. Generally, the accommodations will be in these tourist ger camps, which are camps of 20 to 30 gers, which is what the Mongolian word for what Westerners typically call yurts. So they're canvas circular tents. And it'll be 2 to 3 person occupancy per ger, with separate restroom and dining facilities. Again, all the meals are going to be covered by the ACMS. There will be a central dining facility at these ger camps. We're going to stay 2 nights in Kharkhorin and visit the Orhan River Valley Nature Preserve, which is a fantastic grassy, rivery nature preserve with some really cool archaeological sites. After we leave Kharkhorin, we're going to go to this place called Jargalantin Am, which is the largest deer stone site in Eastern Eurasia. It's a gigantic deer stone site out in the steppe, and it's a fantastically beautiful site that we're going to spend 2 nights at. We're going to have some gers set up for us at the site and stay right there, as well as we're going to have a dining facility there. While we're in Kharkhorin, there will be restroom facilities in a separate restroom ger, but be prepared while we are at Jargalantin Am. We are not going to have restroom facilities. It's going to be, we'll have shovels and toilet paper for people, and you'll basically just have to find your own privacy by walking away from camp, which is totally normal to do, and don't feel weird about it at all. So these obelisk type things that you see here are deer stones. These are part of what's called the deer stone hierixur culture. Typically, these sites will have a hierixur, which is this main stone mound, and then with or without several deer stones above ground. And underneath the ground at these sites are often human burials, but even more commonly, horse heads are buried at these sites. And so we're going to talk about how horses show up in the archaeological record, the timing of horse domestication in Mongolia, how horses have been used over time in Mongolia, and really why horses allowed the Mongol Empire to become such a huge power in Eurasia, and how horse culture still is a very important part of Mongolian culture and life. After we leave Jargalantin Am, we're going to go up to another deer stone site near the town of Murun in northern Mongolia. And we're going to stay at another tourist ger camp there. And this tourist ger camp is owned and operated by a descendant of the family that ran one of the last Mongolian Pony Express stations in Mongolia in the area. And on one of the days, we're going to take a horse ride out to one of the Pony Express sites. We're all going to hop on horses. This isn't mandatory, so if you don't want to ride horses, you don't have to, but everybody's going to have the opportunity to ride horses out to this Pony Express site and get a lecture, basically a site tour from the descendant of the people who operated this camp. This is just a very common display of horse remains at these sites. Horses are quite revered in Mongolia, and some of the more cherished animals, after they pass along, their bones are put in on special display. So if you have any particular questions about the course before coming, please email either me, iheart@mongoliacenter.org, or Will Taylor, william.taylor@colorado.edu, or hang around until after the discussion of the Hustai course, and we would be happy to answer any questions you have about the course or general logistics or Mongolian language recommendations or whatever questions you have. Zerma, do you want to take over the screen, or should I just use the slides that you sent me yesterday?
Dr. Usko is gonna share the presentation.
Okay.
Usko, are you ready?
Sure. Is there anyone can
Okay.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Share screen. Share. Okay. Screen is clear.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to present about our field course. And the field course will organize not so far from the Ulaanbaatar, 100 kilometers far from Ulaanbaatar to the west. And all those the instructors works as a host for more than 10-20 years, and we will held this the field course by heart and soul. And for the days, the first day for why we choose the hosta means nowadays there are 120 protected areas running in Mongolia, managed by the 36 the protected area administration. From this, hosta is the very special and very collective, because this national park is the first park which managed by the non-governmental organization. It means before the 1990s, Mongolia was the Soviet country. The Soviet society never support any private organization and private properties. And first time the Mongolian government dealing with the non-governmental organization and manage, they give the right to manage this national park to non-governmental organization. And although this national park is only for wild horse first, and why that this wild horse is very important, because this is the last and only species of the wild horse. It was extinct in the wild in 1960s and bring back from the European countries in 1992. And first we transported 84 horse. Today they increased it more than 400, and this is the most successful, the large mammal project, one of the most successful large mammal conservation project in the world. Connected with that, the introduction of the Britvaskis horse, there are lots of good results appeared. Many species of the wildlife increased, and many species of wildlife inhabited to the park by themselves, like a Mongolian gazelle, Arali wild sheep come to here, and red deer and Mongolian marmots are increased a lot. And for the course, first day we arrived in the capital of Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar. This is the Mongolia is the 18th biggest country in the world, and only 3.4 million people. Every people can have 1.7 square kilometers. And thousands of the years, Mongolians are never settled because of the livestock husbandry. And the Ulaanbaatar is the largest city and also capital of Mongolia. And second day, we will talk about what is the specialty of the hosta, what can we do in a hosta, and although we will have the city tour and visit to the Gandang Monastery, which is one of the oldest and biggest monastery of Mongolia. Actually, the Mongolian capital centered and developed from this Ganda monastery. Because before this modern capital, the Ulaanbaatar was the capital or center of the Buddhist religious in Mongolia. The third day, we will visit to the Hosta National Park. And what I'm saying, Hosta National Park is a special means from this 120 protected area and 36 administrations, only 2 administrations located exactly on site. It means exactly in the mountain. But this is the very developed. We have 24-hour school electricity and meal is good. That we will settle there in the Mongolian traditional gear. But in that administration, there are tourist camps. We have very nice shower, and although meal is very good because actually the meal, the food is very important for the nature conservation. As I mentioned, the hosta is very special. Means since the beginning of the year, since 1990s, we never got any money from the Mongolian state government. Our management is we developing the ecotourism, and there are 20,000 tourists come to Hosta. They paid us about $400,000. We spent that money to the nature conservation. That's why we are managing ourselves. For our management, the meal is important because if the meal is good, there is a good amount of the tourists. If the good amount of the tourists, good amount of the money for nature conservation. That's why the hosta meal and everything is quality is very good. And whenever we lodging at the tourist camp, we will start about lecture about how we are running and managing the protected areas and what is the Britwaski's horse, why the Britwaski horse is important, and what about the population analysis and evolutionary and ecological analysis of the horse. And second day, we will have the field course for how we are observing the Britwaski's horse behavior, and although pointing the movement, daily movement of the Britwaski horse. And whenever we come back from the field, we will work in laboratory for analyzing the home range and habitat preference of the Britwaski's horse, and although the Britwaski's horse behavioral analysis. The 5th day, it is the vegetation biomass study. Since 1990s until now, we never stopped with any research because our research idea is how many horses can care in a 50,000 hectare. And if we have enough horse and enough wildlife, how biomass need and connected with the protection. Thus, the biomass is increased, our vegetation composition is recovered, and we're studying many different topics of the vegetation. And this, the 5th day, is completely whole about how we're studying the vegetation composition, vegetation biomass, and early morning we will have a field course. Whenever we come back to the laboratory, we are processing the biomass data and weighing and analyzing the vegetations. And although during that time we will talk about how the climate change influencing the protected areas, why and how that the small patchy forests gone with the climate change, and although high number of the red deers. And we will analyze about food vegetation analysis in the 5th day. And 6th day, since 1990s until now, every 2 weeks, we count all the large mammal because we're trying to analyze and trying to understand the population size of the large mammals. And in the near future, how many red deer, how many wild horses, how many Mongolian gazelle, Argali wild sheep, and marmots can we carry in a 50,000 hectare? If it's our increased, how can we send them in other protected areas of Mongolia? And early morning, we will have a field course for how we count the large mammals and how we record them in the maps. And whenever we come back to the field course, we process all this data immediately on the GIS programs, and on the GIS, we will analyzing the movement analysis, home range size, habitat analysis, and core zone of the home ranges, how it overlapping all these species, how it's overlapping with the vegetation map and biomass map, and we can calculate the carrying capacity of the park. This is the laboratory analysis. It means all those days, all participants learn a lot for the field course and also the laboratory analysis. And every day we will have a small seminar for how can we arrange about management of the park. And for instance, how can we earn the money from the 2000 reindeers, and how can we manage those numbers for the 50,000 hectare carrying capacities. And day 7, that we visit to the Danshik Nadam. It will organize every year and first week of the August. And this is the beautiful Nadam, because Mongolia is the thousands of the years we always the herders, because if you have a livestock, you cannot be together, because if you stay together, you will completely degrade the pasture. That's why our lifestyle and our culture is completely different. Not only the foreigners, even the Mongolians love to see that Nadam, because this shows you completely the historical the Mongolian cultures which develop in thousands of the years. And day 8, we will visit to the local herdsmen and participating full of their participate in their life. How can we milk the cows and sheep and goats, and how can we purchase the milk products, the milk butter, the yogurt, cheese, and anything? How Mongolians live in summertime, because as you know, the every culture is connected with the development. Development means if you have electricity, you have refrigerator. If you have refrigerator, every meal is new. But in countryside, they don't have any electricity. That's why they don't have any refrigerator. If you don't have any refrigerator, food of the summer, we will eat the milk products. That's why this milk product processing is most important for the Mongolian lifestyle. And nature conservation is not only connected with the biodiversity conservation. Since 2000, there are very big wave that developed in the world. It is the community-based conservation. It means if we're trying to protect the biodiversity and national park, how can we cooperatively work with the local herdsmen? First, they must not breach the rule and law, and second, they can cooperate, work with the park administration, and then we save the nature together. That's why the Protected Areas Administration organized more than 30 the community, local herdsmen communities, and try to develop many different income source except the livestock number. Post administration never support livestock number, only trying to develop all the sources of the income and trying to develop the community-based tourism and filmmaking, some the sea buckthorn cheese factory and anything. We will visit there and they're studying how we are combining work with the local herdsmen. And although why the hosta is special means in every protected areas, almost every species protected. But gray wolf is most hateful animal in Mongolia, because Mongolia is the livestock country. The gray wolves eat lots of livestock, then herdsmen don't like them. That's why some of the herdsmen beat the wonder about why the hosta is protecting the wolf. But in a hosta, we said if it's in the law, we protect every species. That's why we have more than 5 to 6 pack of the wolves. They are happy to live in the park, even they know our rangers. And the 7th day, we try to observe the gray wolf population, but of course, it's not guaranteed. only gray wolf is not guaranteed, but we will try. And early morning, we will have a field course to observe the gray wolves. And whenever we come back to the field, we will analyze the wolf pack, the habitat and territory analysis from the satellite coloring. And the laboratory course will be very interesting, and field course, of course, if we luckily saw them, it will be very effective. Day 8, we visit to another protected area of Mongolia. It's not so far from the Hosta, around 100 or 120 kilometers. And this is the habitat and ecosystem is completely different. It's combined with the sand dunes and rocky mountains. And although there are lots of people trying to develop the ecotourism, and we can hike on the sand dunes and small ride the Mongolian camel, two-humped camel, and we can compare the non-governmental organization managed park and government protected managed park. We can compare these two management. And day 12, we're trying to observe the behavior and number of the Mongolian marmot, because the marmot is the actually keystone species of the Mongolian ecosystem. First, they are really high number. Second, they are really good food for the gray wolf, red fox, golden eagle, and the steppe eagle. That's why if the marmot number is good enough, then the ecosystem is healthy enough. That's why this species is the most important. And if this marmot number is still high enough, then wolves are not really eating the horse babies. Mostly they eat the Monday 2 marmots, the Thursday 2 Mongolian gazelles, and Sunday 2 red deers, and full of the month they did not eat any horse. That's why this ecosystem conservation is very important for the horse reintroduction. And day 13, we will visit to the small breeding station for the Mongolian Banjar dog. This dog is also part of the nature conservation, because if you protect the nature very well, then there are lots of gray wolf and the snow leopard increase a lot. Then if the gray wolf and the snow leopard eat the livestock, then herdsmen are very angry and they ask for the payment. But we train the Banjar dog to herding the livestock and spread this dog to the herdsman. And then we said, okay, we trained this dog, and this dog now will protect your livestock. And now we don't have any conflict between the administration and local herdsmen. That's how we manage in the nature conservation too. And day 14, we will have a course conclusion for the participants, and the faculty will gather the four final reflections of course for journey and discuss about what is the result of this field course. And I'm guarantee we will immediately use all those suggestions and recommendations for the management. This is the specialty for the park. Although our plan is, if we have a time, we're trying to build some one rock dam for protecting the water source. It means every participant can participate for the management of the Mongolian protected area. The next important the message is, I already mentioned that this is the only self-financing national park in Mongolia. We will never take any money from the Mongolian government. It means all these participants, all your payment for the field course immediately paid to the nature conservation for salary of the rangers, food of the motorcycle, and hay of the ranger's horse, and minerals for all those thousands of the wildlife. That's why this field course is not only effective for the participants, even is immediately effective for the nature conservation. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer, and every answer is free of charge for nature conservation. Is that understandable, Isaac?
Yes, I think Miguel Vasquez Angeles just answered about potential reading list for the course. I believe we're going to put together a detailed syllabus with some recommended readings before the next informational meeting, which we plan to have in early to mid-June. So we'll have readings for both the Kustai National Park course and for the Horses in History course. One person has also asked, go ahead.
I already mentioned the host established in 1992. It means we have, of course, the very well organized website for www.hustai.mn. This is the website. And although if you search the Google Scholar for academic articles, the prerequisites for introduction and management, or the just say research in a hosta, and you can find the plenty article about horse management, horse population analysis, and vegetation analysis, and ecosystem, community-based conservation, and I'm sure you can find many different articles from the Google Scholar for the academic articles. For the normal, the science familiar writings, and although if you search the Google, or although from the YouTube, there are some small documentaries about how we are saving the Britwaski's horse and wildlife in Mongolia. Yeah. Is there any question?
I have a question. I have not been able to find the management program, or I don't know how do you call it, the conservation program on the internet. So I would like to know if you can give it to us so we can read it before we go to the summer school. Could be good for us.
Okay, Sirma, we have, of course, we have 30 years study reports in English, and then we can gather the recent research report in the share package, and then we can share our recent research report in all participants. And I will send you all these English recent research reports, and then we can share from the one share folder. Is that okay, Sirma?
Yep, we
Okay.
can do that.
Thank you.
A few
Hi,
of you, go
Oh.
ahead, whoever's talking.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm doing the horses. I know in the other program they're staying in a year. So where are we staying with the horses? Because we're in a different place like every day.
Yeah, so in the Horses in History course, the first 2 nights of the field will be at a tourist gear camp. The second 2 nights will be at some gears that we're having set up at a site out in the countryside. And then 3 more nights at tourist gear camps.
Okay.
And so I didn't mention this before, but somebody has asked about a packing list. One thing that we need everyone in the Horses in History course to bring is a sleeping bag and a sleeping pad if you need one. That's recommended for the Hustai course as well. You will be in beds with bedding, and it's relatively new, fresh bedding, but you might, just for your own comfort, you might want to bring a pad and a sleeping bag if you want it, but it's not necessary, but some people prefer their own sleeping bag.
Thank you.
A few of you in the chat are talking about travel arrangements and airfare. I have started a Google Sheet with names, email addresses, and flight information for people to share so that you can all coordinate if you want to figure out if you're on the same flights. I can share that in the chat right now. So far, I think there's only 6 people listed on it. Let me make sure the sharing is on. Anyone with the link can edit. Okay, I believe that list should be accessible and shareable. Can anybody verify that for me?
Oh, I will stop share, I think, yeah, is that right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Stop
Yeah,
share.
you can stop.
Okay.
Elizabeth has asked what kind of weather we should be accounting for in the field. I've heard temps can get to 80 in the day and below 30 at night. That is accurate. So generally you want to be able to layer. We do anticipate daytime temperatures in the low 80s, high 70s most days. This will be the rainy season, so we do expect to see some rain. So bring a nice rain jacket. A nice warm sweater, pullover hoodie or something for hanging around camp at night would be good. And I believe the gears in the tourist camps do have either coal or wood burning stoves in them to keep them warm at night. It won't be, generally gears are pretty warm at night, even when it's cold outside. They're insulated felt, and so it can be quite cozy, even if it's relatively cool outside. See if I'm missing any questions.
One thing is, Isaac, I think Isaac knows it, but some of the participants mostly worry about the mosquitoes. But Hosta National Park, located in the steppe close to us, there aren't any permanent lake and anything. We have, of course, big river, but it's a little bit far. That's why we don't have any mosquitoes in the camp.
Yeah, you will want to bring some bug spray for the horses in history class. As I mentioned, a couple of the tourist gear camps that we're going to be staying at will be relatively close to large rivers, and the Ochran Valley Nature Preserve is a large, very wet area, and there will be lots of mosquitoes there. So bring some nice deep bug spray if you don't want to get bit by mosquitoes. Okay, 2 people have said they can't see the Google Sheet link. Does it say that it's prevented from sharing?
It's not showing up in the chat.
Oh, I wonder if I just sent it to one person. Yeah, I sent it to, sorry. I can never tell who I sent it to. Should be there now.
Yep,
Oh, I see
thanks.
it. Nice, I see it's already being populated.
For the horses trip, will there be much time to see the museums in Harhor?
Yes, we'll have some downtime. We'll try to arrange a guided tour of the Erdenzo Museum with one of the llamas there, and we'll also have plenty of downtime, at least a couple hours each day for sort of self-guided exploration. Miguel
And do
has
you
just asked,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna ask if you recommend getting a Mongolian SIM card, or we're not really gonna use our phone anyway because we're not gonna have service, right?
We will be able to set up hotspots occasionally to check messages and stuff if you need to. I would say getting a Mongolian SIM is very inexpensive. You can do it at the store. If you have a newer phone, they all have eSIMs now, so you don't even have to get a card.
Oh yeah.
They just program it for you, and it shouldn't be more than about $30 for a month of high speed, good internet. And in every Zoom center we're going to visit, there is excellent cellular service. Ulaanbaatar has really good 5G LTE coverage and high speed data, and that I believe will be the case at Harhorn as well, and as well when we're near Murun. We might not have coverage when we're at Jargalantin Am, So yeah, I do recommend if you want to take the time to visit one of the Mobicom shops or one of the other, Mobicom is the service provider that I use. Unitel is another one that is, I believe it's also good, but I've never used it. But yeah, we will be able to set up mobile hotspots periodically for people to check stuff, but a Mongolian SIM is not very hard to get. I don't know, does Hostai have cellular coverage?
Yes, we have.
But you just need to have Mobicom because other cell services do not work there.
Yeah, generally in my experience, Mobicom is the one with the better coverage. So I recommend Mobicom. That's what I have. I also have.
Do you know if? Oh
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead.
I have
Oh, I was gonna.
my cell service is Google Fi, so my American phone works here, and I don't have to pay extra for it or anything.
Wow. I was gonna ask about Airlo. I use them. It's an eSIM card. It's an app. Do you know if they operate in Mongolia? I'm not sure. I know they operate in Europe.
I've never heard of it.
Okay. I'm gonna look into it. If it does, it's good. I've used it. It's an eSIM and you pay like, but it's not really unlimited. It's just like more for like check-ins, But I'll look. Thank you.
Miguel has asked about cash or credit cards. Generally, I would say I would recommend against bringing any cash with you when you come. There's lots of ATMs here and they give you fairly good exchange rates. If you bring cash and try to exchange it, you're going to get a worse exchange rate. And while you're in these courses, you don't need a lot of cash. Of course, if you want to buy souvenirs and stuff, or if you need any other equipment that you realize that you don't have when you get here. Most places you can use credit cards now. Mongolia has I would say it's slightly more advanced banking system than the United States. A lot of people do just phone to phone money transfers. It's really easy to do credit card transfers most places. So paying for stuff isn't very difficult. However, if you want to bring cash with you in the field, which you should, I would recommend having at least maybe 300,000 tugruks or something with you, which is about $100. It's very easy to get that at the ATM before we take off. Michelle has asked if you can buy sleeping bags here. You definitely can. There's a number of stores that sell them. There's a number of outdoor specific stores. I will say it's probably going to be more expensive to buy them here rather than less expensive. Some things are less expensive here, but a lot of the import goods, things like sleeping bags, it can be challenging to find them for less money. You can find them for less money, but you have to do a lot more looking around and go to the right place. But if you just want to buy a sleeping bag at a store, it'll be more expensive here than in the US. Lisa has asked about foot. Go ahead, Terma.
For hostel class, you don't need to have sleeping bags because they can't provide your bed sheets.
Right. Lisa has asked about footwear. I would recommend some decent hiking boots. We're not gonna be going on, 10-mile, treks across the countryside, but you will want something that's gonna protect your toes from kicking rocks and prevent you from, rolling your ankle if you trip or something. Yeah, a decent hiking boot would be generally good wear for when we're in class. And then some sneakers or something to wear while we're driving around would also be recommended so your feet don't get soggy. Jackson Maggie has asked about recommended vaccinations for the courses. In that Mongolia welcome packet that I sent to you, there's a Word document that I sent in the welcome email. There is some information on vaccinations. The CDC, the United States CDC, has a webpage that lists recommended vaccinations for every country. I recommend visiting that. It will recommend, I believe, hepatitis A and B, or maybe C. And I think that's all. Mongolia is listed on the CDC's list of countries with rabies. I've never heard of a case of rabies in Mongolia, but if you're particularly worried about that, you might talk to your doctor about it. In addition to the vaccinations, I recommend visiting the travel nurse in your county or your university. Many counties in the US have a travel nurse office that just serves as a county level facility, and see if you can bring I like to bring a dose of azithromycin, a broad spectrum antibiotic. We'll be a couple hours away from medical care, no matter where we are in these courses, and having some antibiotics on hand can be helpful if your travel nurse is willing to prescribe them for you. Also, whatever. Some people experience traveler's diarrhea while they're here. So if you start experiencing that, you might want to have something on hand that can alleviate the symptoms of diarrhea. So talk to your travel nurse about that. Jennifer has asked if we need something dressier. Generally, Mongolian people are very well dressed. It's kind of frowned upon to wear t-shirts in public. Generally a long sleeve shirt, even when just walking around, is advised. You know, not something super fancy, but something like I'm just wearing a long sleeve dress shirt now. And also shorts are generally kind of frowned upon, at least in the cities. When we're out in the countryside, it'll be a lot less formal, but you definitely stick out as a tourist if you walk around in shorts and a t-shirt in Ulaanbaatar. Jennifer, I can't recommend any specific gifts you might want to bring. People often bring small brochures about the place that they're from, or small trinkets, things like coffee mugs or small things that, you know, convey some part of your home country, you know, just to kind of show that you were there and they met someone from somewhere else. Mongolians really like to meet and interact with foreigners, and they really like having mementos of those interactions. Sophia has asked if there are ticks here. I don't believe there are ticks here. Termo or Usushargal, can you answer if we have ticks?
Of course, Mongolia has the ticks, but on that season, we don't have any ticks. It's zero. Yeah, mostly tick starts around it's connected to wet and the temperature. Mostly it's active in end of March and mid of April, then it's gone. In July and August, I never seen any tick, and I never heard. Even in Hosta, we never seen. In August, no, July and August, we never seen them. Yeah, it's one of the thing is, as you know, the Mongolia is 40 degrees northern hemisphere country. It means very long cold winter and very short temperate summer. That's the bug, mosquito, and any species of the reptiles and the snakes and any species of the insects is much less than the Southeast Asian countries.
Yeah, the very cold and dry, the cold winters and the relatively dry summers here are really a barrier against any major insect problems, other than there are mosquitoes in the summer in the wetter areas. Elizabeth has asked if we are going to be doing some kind of formal presentation at the end of the programs. We won't be doing anything formal. We may join together for the last night of the program and do informal, you know, prepare a 1 minute or 2 minute summary of your experience, what you learned, things if you had anything you would be willing to share that might improve the course for the future. So nothing formal, but very brief sort of experience sharing meeting probably at the end on the last date. Are there any questions in the chat that we've missed? There have been quite a few. You don't need to bring a laptop or a computer unless you absolutely want to have it with you. Charging it might be a challenge in the countryside. On the horses course, we will try to bring a small generator with us, but we'll only be able to use it for an hour or two every day. So yeah, we should be able to keep, and while we're driving, of course, hopefully we'll be able to charge people's phones and stuff. But you don't need a computer or a laptop. Everything you need for the course will be provided by us. That's a great idea, Elizabeth. Going to a local state park or a museum or something in your hometown and get small gifts related to or themed after your hometown or state.
How many gifts do you recommend bringing? If we were to bring
5 to 10. 5 to 10 should
Okay.
be. We're not going to
and
all be.
with the weather question,
Go ahead.
right? When you answer the weather question, is that for the national park with the horses, or is that for the other program? That's for the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Kostai is a little bit
thanks.
is very slightly higher in elevation than Ulaanbaatar, so it might be a couple degrees cooler, but generally it's going to be, it should be relatively dry. We might get some rainstorms, and generally right around 80 degrees in the daytime, and most nights it'll be in the low 40s at night, but it could dip down into the 30s.
Okay, thank you.
So Costa has the 24 hours electricity and network too.
Oh, great. Okay, we're at a little over an hour. Does anybody have any final questions or comments before we log out?
Can we add a column on that spreadsheet for which course each person is in?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll do that right now. Insert one column. Okay, that is done. I see people are already populating that spreadsheet. That's great. I mentioned in the welcome email about pickup from the airport. ACMS is not going to be arranging airport pickups, in case you didn't know that. And so participants are responsible to get their own airport pickup from the airport to the hotel that we're staying at. And I'm not entirely sure. We've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 hotels. We're trying to find one that has the right number of rooms so that everybody can stay in the same hotel each night. So once we know which hotel, you might reach out to them and see if they can arrange pickup for you, or just coordinate with the people on that spreadsheet. The new airport is about an hour drive from town here. And so generally you should be able to get a ride, even if you just show up. There's a lot of people that wait there that have taxis that wait for people to need a ride, and it should be between, I think, $30 and $50 to ride into town. Yes, Arjunan, the best way to pay the tuition balance is on the payments website on the ACMS Mongolia Center website.
So, sir, I need to add one more thing. So we already paid that $500 deposit using that portal. So we have to use the same portal to pay the rest of the amount. That's what you mean, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Marcia has asked what type of adapter you should bring. The Mongolian electricity is, the plugs are very different from the United States. I would recommend maybe bringing a USB cable and then getting a USB to wall mount adapter while you're here. There's lots of places to buy those in town here, even just at the local, the CU, which is a 7-Eleven type store, or the GS25, also the 7-Eleven type store. You can get those there. And they're on almost every corner here in town, so it's very easy to find those. A note about electricity generally. Mongolia, I believe the voltage in the wall is something like 230 volts. So all your electronic devices should work just fine with that. Typically, if you look at the cord, it'll say 100 to 250 volts or something accepted charge. So your electronic devices should work, but your electrical devices, for example, if you have a hairdryer that you bring that runs, you plug it into the wall. If you plug that into the wall here, it's going to blow up. The voltage is not right. So electronic devices work fine, but other electrical devices will likely break if you try to use them here. So like when I say electronic devices, like I have an electric razor that works in the US because I have a USB charger that I plug it into, and the USB charger converts the electricity to the right electricity and charges my electric razor. But if you have something that plugs in directly to the wall without a transformer on it, or a wall wart, those little cubes of those little black cubes that the plugs stick out of, those will convert the electricity for you. But things like hair dryers will not work. Yiling, the horse ride in Hoofschool should be just maybe 3 hours or so. I'm not exactly sure how far we're going to be going. It's not going to be an all-day ride, but it's going to be enough of a ride that your legs are going to be sore afterwards if you don't ride on horses a lot. Jennifer, yes, we are still accepting applicants to the Hustai program. Right now, the participant number, I believe, is 25. We can take a few more without any problems. Okay, well, we're now at 1 hour and 10 minutes, so I'm gonna call it for this meeting, and we'll again schedule a meeting for the horses class and a meeting for the Hustai class in hopefully early to mid-June, in maybe 3 weeks or so. And at that point, we should have detailed syllabuses and travel itineraries, packing lists, and reading lists for you put together at that point. So I just want to say thanks everybody for meeting and spending an hour with us. And I hope you enjoy your evening or morning or afternoon or whatever you've got ahead of you today.
Thank you. Bye, Arla.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Hi, Isaac. Quick question. Sorry, it's Maya, the light.
Yeah.
Are there options for vegetarians when we're in the field? Because I see dairy and I see a lot of meat, but is there something in between that?
Which course are you going to be at?
Both the Hustai and the horses.
You're doing both.
Yeah.
We should be able to accommodate that relatively easily. It's very easy in Ulaanbaatar to accommodate, and at the tourist gear camps, I believe we should be able to get some vegetarian options. And since we are going to be hiring a cook to cook for us at the in the middle couple of days when we're staying at Jargalantin it shouldn't be a problem to arrange some vegetarian cuisine.
Okay, that sounds good.
That was,
I know, yeah, I just saw the extremes, so I was just like,
Yeah.
I hope it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
so Isaac, that was my issue too, but we had that conversation about allergies. So I just wanted to know what I should bring, maybe, or what I should grab in UB.
I think it shouldn't be that big an issue. We can make a note to pack some extra stuff for you
Okay,
before the course begins.
thank you. Thank you.
Typically,
I'm working on the resistance to it. I'm trying. It's not working as well as I had hoped.
oh man, that's rough. Yeah, we should
Okay.
be able to get it taken care of.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, see you soon.
Okay. Any other last minute questions? Okie dokie. Well, thank you.